an asshole to his teammates, and now he's not turning out too well.
Boy's
Talk
about
about
to be out
someone
the
who's
league.
probably going to go a little bit higher than Spencer Rattler and Cam Ward. And Mike's exactly right. We've talked about him to death, it feels like, and we'll continue to talk about him for the next 66 days. He's almost certainly going to be QB1. The question for the Tennessee Titans, do they want to take him here? Do they want to trade down and roll with Will Levis for another year? They have.
I do like Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's the best quarterback in the draft by far, and it's not even close. I think it's
It's close.
a sharp
Shadur-
drop off after Shadur.
No, Shadur's good, bro. Shadur is
decisions to
good.
make.
Like,
But whoever ends up
give him
making
the
this
credit.
pick, I think the first overall pick is almost certainly.
Although I would take Carter here. I think Carter at 1 is not a bad pick.
Going to be a quarterback, and I feel pretty
He's a
confident
franchise
that it's going to be
changing player.
Cam Ward, who's gotten better each and every
Crazy
year
edge rusher.
during his college
High
journey from Incarnate
potential.
Word to Washington State to the U last year. And
Why
I
would
think
you
he's
draft
certainly
Cam
talked
Ward
himself into the first round
over-
and certainly into QB1.
You just had Will
Let's go to the
Levis
Browns
for
coming in at number
not
2.
very
You guys are gonna
long.
go back
Give
and
him one
forth
more
on this
year.
because we do have to get through all 32 teams in an
Give him
hour.
a do-over.
Mike, the Browns here, look, they do need to address replacing Myles Garrett if he does in fact get traded. But Ryan
I just don't
has
have
been
any
taking
faith
Michigan
in Will
D-line,
Levis.
Mason Graham, what do you think about that pick at number 2 overall?
I think if you don't draft a quarterback, it's going to be another wasted year.
If they don't trade Myles Garrett, truthfully, I think
The
that's
Mayo
where
Man.
I would start going interior because
The Mayo
they do
Man.
have a need there, and they could use an interior pass rusher. That just makes Myles Garrett's job easier. But if you trade Myles Garrett, to me, the pick's Abdul Carter. You've got to get an edge replacement for him. He's that guy. To me, there are 3 blue chip players in this draft class: Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, and Travis Hunter. I almost blanked there. Those 3 are the 3 blue chip prospects. So if you get one of them, I think you're pretty happy for the Cleveland Browns at number 2, whether it's interior defensive line or.
You know, there's one thing about the Browns. They're going to get a defensive player, and they're going to make him generational, and then they're going to trade him away when they're in a rebuild phase. I've seen it happen.
On the
Playoffs
edge,
2
they'll be able
years
to
ago.
snag one of those 2 elite defensive line
They're
prospects.
good,
If
bro.
I was a draft, I'd
And none
start
of those
by
players on the
blank all
team that
time
was in the
because there's way
playoffs
too many people to
are on the
remember
team
here.
now.
Let's keep rolling. We got the Giants coming in at number 3, and Ryan, here you have them with the second quarterback going off the board. Colorado
I'm telling you, if Myles Garrett leaves, Batonio's next.
Sanders.
nah.
I'm curious though because it's kind of been a roller coaster in the top 6 picks or so for him. Is he falling? Is he rising? Where is he? And why the Giants?
Depends on who you ask. I like him a little bit better than Mike, but Mike and I agree that he's probably going to go in the first round. The question becomes how high and how much of a chance are some of these teams willing to roll the dice on these quarterbacks? Go back to the 2022 draft class where Kenny Pickett was the first
Shadur to the
quarterback
Giants is a
taken.
W.
Someone else that we talked ourselves into the league.
You gotta like
Not a
Shadur
fan.
Sanders, bro.
Not a
Shadur
fan.
Sanders is a dog. He's a dog.
I think this is another one of those first-round picks by the Giants that they're going to regret.
Well, they can't do that.
Willis and Des Ritter and Matt
Can't
Corral.
do
None of
that.
those other guys went into the first round.
I think they had Malik Neighbors fall into their lap last year. With the Bears picking Dunze, they kind of made them take Neighbors.
So we'll see. This draft class is better than that draft
Neighbors
class.
top
If you're the
10.
Giants,
Don't care.
And you've been monkeying around for years now in terms of trying to get that quarterback situation sorted. Shadur Sanders, there are worse options. And I think in the right system, and Mike and I have talked about this, he can win in the NFL, but you got to.
My whole thing with Shadur, it's a lot of these small school quarterbacks. They're not going to win on the big stage because they haven't played anyone in college. They haven't played anyone that's worth anything on defense.
Help
That
him
is
out.
true,
goes
but-
to
Who's
the best
quarterback,
team
doesn't matter who
Shadur
you
played?
are. And we saw that with Jaden Daniels. We saw that with Bo Nix. If you help your young quarterback
Like
out,
Colorado
you have a chance
State.
to win based on what they put on tape in college. I think
Exactly.
Shadur Sanders is that guy. Does he go 3? Maybe it's a little rich, but the Giants again.
If
would
you're
look
good, they'll
pretty bad
find
coming
you.
out of this draft class or out of this draft, without a quarterback.
Let's go to the Pats at 4, and I was listening to your podcast. It is interesting. This is a team that may be closer to success than several of the teams picking in the top 10. Mike Ryan going with, let's see right here, because my prompter stopped working, LSU offensive tackle Will Campbell, number 4 overall to the Patriots. Do you like
Kelvin
that
Banks
pick for the
better.
Pats?
And for the Pats, it's the biggest need, right? You need to surround Drake May with talent.
It is
To
not
me,
the biggest
Campbell is
need. What
the
are we
most
talking
NFL-ready offensive lineman in this draft class.
They need defense. They need an
I think it's a
edge.
start. I think Patriots are almost in full rebuild mode, and
They
grabbing
just
a good-
drafted.
grabbing a good tackle like that, not a bad move.
He's really a guard, though. I don't know, man. I don't know. Look at him. That ain't no tackle. Look how he Bro, look how he's built. Bum. 5 sacks allowed. Get him off the team.
Head coach Liam Cohen, they're still searching for
Picking
GM.
the 4th
Ryan,
pick in the
Mike
draft.
said
You giving up
in
5
his
sacks?
Draft that the player you have them taking may be the
Not
closest thing
taking
out
him.
there to Myles Garrett. Who is that going to the Jags at number 5?
Yeah, man, if Trent Baalke was still there, he would have made this pick in his sleep and probably traded up and made it again because he checks every box physically. I think he's only 6'3", Abdul Carter. I don't care because the way he plays, it does conjure images of Myles Garrett and what he's able to do off the edge.
Abdul Carter falling to 5 is crazy.
You try to
top 3.
Michael Parsons there too.
Any team that picks before him, get him out the league. We'll get him the hell out of the league.
But if the board
This dude Abdul Carter is like Micah Parsons 2.0. Maybe better, low
This is one of those Jalen Carter situations where the best defensive player in the draft fell a little bit too far.
Abdul Carter gets past the Jaguars. I love the idea of pairing him with Josh Hines
Abdul
Allen,
Carter's
and then allow
good
the
as
Jaguars
hell.
at least to get after it with that front 4.
Seen him as high as number 2 in some of them. Guys, hang on. We're only 5 in, a long way to go here. Taking a look at picks 1 through 5, according to Ryan Wilson's latest
Cam
mock
Ward,
draft.
good.
2
Mason
quarterbacks
Graham,
already off
good.
the board, and
Shadur,
several teams
good.
addressing
Will
some big
Campbell,
needs.
mid.
Coming
Abdul
up, the
Carter,
Raiders are on
good.
the clock next,
Great.
with the 6th overall pick, and that big name, that guy right there, is still out there, Travis Hunter.
Your boy
will take
Travis
a
Hunter, boy.
quarterback
Come
that
on,
needed
man.
one to take a shot
Travis
at
Hunter,
the
good,
player.
man.
Our first
What you talking
overall
about?
mock on Spotlight.
Stop disrespecting my boy Travie, bro.
I just don't see what other people see.
He's built like Justin Jefferson. Come on, man. Skinny. Dog.
Picking up, I should say, with the Raiders at number 6. Mike, the Raiders, they are wasting no time. Ryan has them taking Colorado two-way star player Travis Hunter. He's listed to the combine as a corner. So how do you think the Raiders should use him?
I think
Raiders
on both sides of the ball because they need both sides of the ball. They need a wide receiver and they need a cornerback. And with him, he's not going to do both full time. And it's easier to start at corner and moonlight at wide receiver. But moonlighting at wide receiver could look like playing every third down, playing in the red zone, and it wouldn't be that big of an ask. And to me, it's something that
all I'm gonna say about this pick is leave it to the Raiders to draft a DB in the first round.
Good.
Given what he put on tape at Colorado,
he's not just. So my whole thing, for one, he covered no. He's the same reason why I don't think Shadur is good. He covered nobody.
When he played against competition, he shut him down, though.
And he's going to go in the NFL against the big boys, and he's going to get torched. And then what? They're going to put him at wide receiver, and he's going to get strapped up? Who's going to give him separation? Jacoby Myers?
But he could be the number 2 guy, and he could cook. Even if he fails at one, he could be the other one and be good. You can't be bad at both. He's not a Heisman for no reason.
Any pick for Las Vegas that's not an offensive pick in the first round is a bad pick.
I think it's very feasible at the next
level.
So
it's a good pick. What do you mean, bro?
Wide receiver. The guy is special, and if he makes it,
I might just be a hater.
I know they need a quarterback.
Heisman Trophy winner.
If he makes here a 6,
what you talking about, man?
I'm not reaching for the next.
You're just hating because his girl be going against him. He dropping his girl off to get her cheeks clapped.
You wonder is he going to be here at 6 because he is, to your point, truly special. He's the number 1 player on my big board, Amanda. And, you know, he plays a position where there's a little depth,
gonna go. That boy's
and there's a lot of other needs at whether it's edge rusher or defensive tackle or quarterback. So those go a little bit earlier here. But if he went first overall, I could certainly see that. He's special, and we saw that year in and year out throughout his college career.
And we will note we don't have trades in this. That'll come later on as we get a little bit closer to the draft. So the Raiders do need a quarterback, but they land Travis Hunter. The Jets also now in need of a quarterback. They're picking 7th overall. But Ryan, this is not where you have them finding one, at least in this mock draft. Why not, and who do you have the Jets taking at 7?
Yeah, because this quarterback class ain't that deep, Amanda. This would be a huge stretch to see a quarterback number 3 go off the board this high. That said, a year ago, 12 months ago, no one thought Bo Nix would be the 12th overall pick. So maybe something changes. I would be hard-pressed to see that happening. So in the meantime, you try to make Garrett Wilson
this guy analyzing the picks because oh my God, he gave y'all.
So you go with Ted McMillan, who he was my wide receiver 1, a little bit ahead of
Travis McMillan.
He did a lot with a little last year in that Arizona offense. He is big. He is strong.
Bro, he's not going to the Jets, bro. Like, what are we talking about? You have Garrett Wilson.
I like this pick for the Jets. That way, if Garrett Wilson's not happy, we have a wide receiver to fall back on.
You do. It's called Malachi Corley, the guy who fumbles at the 1 yard line.
A guy named not Malachi Corley to fall back on.
He's a 3rd round pick. What do you mean? Oh my God, bro.
I wouldn't mind getting a tackle here.
Who you gonna get? Armand Mimbu? Because ain't nobody. You can get Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks is good.
The Kelvin Banks is a reach at this spot.
Enormous catch radius.
No.
He makes long passes look like short handoffs. He is that sort of player, and I think
this guy might be a bust.
Is he best on the board?
But at least get the skill position players right.
Probably at this point.
Potentially has a
if
chance,
not,
and I think
I'm taking Will Johnson, bro. He's like my top 3 pop prospect. I like Will Johnson, bro. He's top. He clamps. It's like Sauce when Sauce played at Cincinnati.
They had one of the highest drop rates of any team in the NFL. They have really bad hands. You're going to cut Devontae Adams this offseason, so it's really just Garrett Wilson there. People might think, do we really need a second wide receiver?
Devontae had a trial run.
If you don't get the quarterback in the draft, get whoever is quarterback. Give him the best possible situation. And Ted McMillan's a guy who is day one NFL starter ready to come in and make an impact.
Jets coming in at number 7 there with a wide receiver. Let's go to the Panthers at 8. And I will say for the Panthers, we had somebody on air a couple weeks ago. This could potentially be a team, I don't know if I agree with this, that has a big turnaround this season. So it's all going to start right here with the draft at 8. Mike Ryan has that turnaround starting with edge rusher Michael Williams from Georgia. How would you grade that with Williams going to the Panthers at number 8 overall?
I love taking a big swing at the defensive line. To me, Williams is one of the most
I like this pick.
athletes in this draft class. He's not there from a pure technical standpoint, but he's not as far off as like.
Don't get me wrong. The Panthers are going to be the Panthers, so they're going to be poverty. But this is a good pick. Panthers every so often will pick a guy that will end up being good, and then they'll end up trading him away for nothing because they're in cap hell somehow.
And you might have a shot.
You're not lying, but
defense just next year.
Well, I saw that the Panthers' 3 highest paid guys are all linemen.
You have been taking cornerback Will Johnson.
At least they trying.
And correct me if I'm wrong, your number 1 player over the summer ended up with an injury. So how far down do you think he drops because of that injury? But what makes him so special?
Yeah, I think Mike had him number 1, 2 on his board coming out of the summer as well because he is truly freakish. And the comps you got when you talked to teams over the summer was Patrick Surtain, and you see a lot of that in him. He's not quite as big as Christian Gonzalez, but he's that sort of playmaker. He has ball skills, but you mentioned the toe injury that sidelined him for much of the second half of the season. I don't know if it's going to affect him at all because remember, man, Derek Stingley Jr. opted out his final year, and he still went ahead of Sauce Gardner. That ended up being the right pick for the Tech.
I would like this pick for the Saints. They got a Debo. He would be good with Will Johnson.
Debo was good coming out of I think he was coming out of Texas, Orange College, whatever they were.
They did just draft Kool-Aid last year, though. They did just get Kool-Aid McKinstry.
And be sort of a Patrick Surtain-like player.
I like Kool-Aid.
And again, if you get 75% of him early on in his career,
Saints needs defensive line help bad.
Teams back to back here with the new head coach.
Cameron Jordan's a wash, and I love Cameron Jordan. He's just old as hell, bro.
Mike, we see another offensive lineman go off the board here with Kelvin Banks Jr. As a Sooner, I had to say he is from that Orange
Kelvin
school.
Banks, boy, big.
Yeah,
corn-fed, boy.
Is exactly what the Bears need. He is a left tackle that can move the line of scrimmage. Ben Johnson,
him and Darnell Wright,
was a people-moving offensive line.
Oh my
and
God!
Else was kind of built around that fact that you had.
And Darnell Wright came from
no matter what. Bears offensive
I think he came from the same college.
Just yet, they need help. Kelvin Banks will help that. I love this guy's tape. I
think Darnell Wright actually came from Clemson.
But he is a guy that has all
I know
the
he came from the SEC.
To be an all-pro caliber left tackle in the NFL. So for the Bears, he's on the board for you. Maybe he's
might be the best tackle in the class, and he gave up less sacks than Will Campbell.
I just want to point out the OU Texas rivalry is so good that there was a player at a Thunder game who made a half-court shot for $10,000. First thing he did, horns down. That's how it is done in college football. Let's get back to the draft here. We have the 49ers at number 11. Right, this was a weird year for this
Niners.
team. This is a team we
need
normally
defense.
Talk about every single season as a Super Bowl contender. So how do they start to right that ship in the draft?
A defense is not like that at all.
Yeah, they got to sign the quarterback. But in terms of the draft, Mike and I did a mock draft on what the first pick last week, and Mike had the 49ers trading up for an offensive tackle, which certainly makes some sense because Trent Williams is certainly getting older. Had there been Kelvin Banks Jr. there, they would have taken him. Had Will Johnson been there, the cornerback, that maybe they take him. Instead, I went with Jahad Campbell. And this is a projection pick because Jahad's only 20 years old. He is freakishly athletic in a draft class. Full of freaking.
Got Fred Warner, bro.
A crazy reach. Oh, well.
Typical Niners.
Yeah.
Reaching on players.
He's either going to be all pro or he's going to be out of the league in a year.
Even you can move
like
him
they didn't just draft a linebacker
he's gonna bring it.
like
Robert
5
Saleh
years
can
ago
perhaps,
with
feel like he's the
Foster,
49ers of
Reuben
old,
Foster.
The way that defense could be fashioned if Campbell ends up landing there.
49ers of old, that is a team to remember. The Cowboys of old is getting further and further in the rear view
Who the Cowboys
mirror.
gonna take?
Prescott,
They gotta take Genie,
this
right?
team is similar to the Eagles.
They gotta
win
take
Super Bowl.
Ashton
Cowboys
Genie.
with the
They
12th
need a
overall
running
pick.
back.
Mike, Ryan has not moved off this pick for a minute now. Has them taking Ashton Genty, running back out of Boise
Easy.
State. Look, they need
Dude's
help
a
in the run
dog,
game.
man.
We saw
He's
what Saquon
cold.
did for the Birds.
That's who should have won the Heisman.
A running back this high, is Ashton
Nah.
Genty worth it?
I think he's that good. I mean, if you just go back through the running backs that have been taken
Don't
at
let
this
the
spot or
Bengals get him.
higher in recent years, and I put his film right up there with any of them. I mean, the guy's
dropping 50
contact balance,
50 a
his ability to
game.
break tackles, and his home run hitting ability. I mean, he has legit possible 4.3 speed. We'll see it next week's combine, but I didn't see many people catching him in the open field. So when you pair all that together, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for the Dallas Cowboys. They're a team that would draft a running back this highly. They did it with Ezekiel Elliott. So to me,
You've been
Genty
chasing
is
Zeke
right
ever
in
since
that
he
moment.
left.
He goes to a team that desperately needs a running back. Obviously, Rico Dowdle hit him for agency. And they also desperately need to move some jerseys. And Ashton Genty, he'd do just that.
But I don't know if Ashton Genty's going to be the next Zeke.
He might be something crazy though. I don't know.
People forget how good prime Zeke was.
I don't. I'm an Ohio State fan. Zeke was
Yeah, and the other
amazing.
thing, Mike, I don't think they're one
Helped
player
us
away.
win a
So
chip.
you might as well try to get the guy
College
that's going to give you the most
championship.
bang
Come
for the
on,
buck.
man.
And maybe that's an edge rusher, but almost certainly not. You rarely see an edge rusher
Almost
make that sort of
2,000
impact day one.
yards.
And I think when you're talking about a running back who can
Christ.
come in quickly, get assimilated to the offense, and understand the offense quickly, that makes the most sense in this scenario. But look, man, they could go linebacker, they could go cornerback, they could go defensive line if they wanted to, even offensive tackle. But I think Ashton Genty is the guy that gives you the most opportunity to see the most production the fastest. And, if Dak Prescott's going to keep staying there like the Philadelphia Eagles, you're going to need your Saquon Barkley. And I think Ashton Genty's the closest to that in this draft class.
I didn't even think about the money aspect in this, Mike, and I flew out of DFW this morning, and at 5 a.m. I was rubbing my eyes because I was like, that's a kid wearing an Ashton Genty jersey in the middle of DFW Airport. Sure enough,
Ain't no kids wearing no Ashton Genty jersey, boy.
Guys, we are
bandwagon
as
as hell.
Little less than halfway done right now. Taking a look at picks 6 through 12 there. The Raiders.
Let's see who my Bengals gonna get. Who we gonna draft, bro? Give me somebody
I don't
good.
hate any of these picks. I think the biggest one is Jahad Campbell. That's a reach. I think if they grab a linebacker that early, they're gonna regret it.
Yeah, but they do. He is learning from one of the best. I mean, put him right there with freaking Fred Warner. Oh my god!
I don't mind the
Might be the
Jets
best.
taking the best available player either. I think with that new coach,
I think the Jets should have took either Michael Williams or Will Johnson. I don't think McMillan's like that. I know he's like that. I just don't think he's top 7 worthy though.
yeah, they're saying he's a lot like Chris Godwin.
Like he's good.
Jets
I'm not gonna
getting
disrespect the guy. They're all good. I just don't think
receiver and the Cowboys
it was the right
trying
pick.
to boost their running game.
Got some size to him.
Ashton Genty.
Hey, 6'4", 220.
Big wide
Arguably
receivers
the
can
top
bail
tight
out
end
bad
in this year's
quarterbacks.
draft is still available. Tyler Warren from Penn
trust me,
State.
I know.
Before the season began,
saw
this is a
AJ
guy
Green do
who
it
was a
for
day
years.
3 pick. So why he is so talented and
This
who
guy.
lands him, that's coming up.
This guy right here, though, he might be the best. He might be the best pick in the draft.
Welcome back into Spotlight.
Depending
on
on what
Monday,
team he
this
goes
mock
to,
Draft
Tyler
Monday,
Warren's a
going through
dog.
the first round,
My
all 32
God.
teams. We're going to pick things back up. And this is a
6'6",
big chunk, guys. So like, take a
260,
deep breath. We're going
likes
13
to
through
block.
32 right now.
Watch
Goes
Notre
out
Dame
there
beat his
at
ass.
13.
Oh my God! More like him trying to carry
Tyler Warren from
Penn State because they
right?
suck.
I was reading through your article online, and you said at the beginning of the season he was a late day 2,
This is a
early
bad
day
pick.
3 guy. How did he jump all the way to
No,
13
this is a good
here?
pick.
I think Johnny
Because he was
Smith had
the only
almost
show in
1,000
town,
yards
for the
last
Nittany
year.
Lions. He did just about everything.
Yeah,
Obviously, he
but
can catch the ball. He can run it. He can throw
Tyler
it. He can
Warren's
snap
better.
it. And he was a
Better
difference maker,
prospect.
play in and
Jonas
play
Smith's
out.
been on
Now,
like
is he
3
the
or 4
athlete of
different
Colson
teams.
Loveland, the Michigan tight end? No, he is not. But I think in the right system, and Miami feels like a system where you're going to get the ball a lot because Tua's going to get rid of the ball. Tyler Warren can feast in that sort of system. If you're looking for a guy to be a long strider in the middle of the field and run every route, wide receiver routes included, maybe Colson Loveland is the right tight end for you. But Tyler Warren I don't know if anyone's done more for himself in this draft class, perhaps outside of Cam Ward, than what Tyler Warren was able to do over the course
George
of the
Kittle
2024
with
season for Penn State.
Hey,
I don't know. He's
congratulations to him.
Tyler
Make
Warren's
that money.
nasty, bro.
Let's go to the Colts at 14. Hot mess, I think we can say for the Colts.
Yeah.
Damn. Not mess? Jeez, bro.
I kind of wanted to see him go to the Colts, but
If he went to the Colts, AR would have an actual tight end to throw
In
to.
some form or fashion sometimes. Look, Shane Steichen, we didn't know if he was going to have a job. He still has it. So they have the 14th overall pick. Ryan has them taking safety Malachi Starks from Georgia. Ryan pointed out, Mike, tell me if you agree with this, that he's not only one of the most talented players on the field, he's actually one of the smartest on the field as well.
I think a defensive player from Georgia is a safe pick.
In baseball, the guy is good at pretty much everything it takes to be good at the safety position. He's not a playmaker.
Tackle.
Though, only 1 pick, only 2 pass breakups this past year.
But he's always there.
He's not a ball hawking safety. That's not where you're.
Yeah, you want a
He
wide
does
receiver?
his job.
You go to LSU. You want a defensive guy? You go to Georgia. It's just how it is.
I don't know if you go to LSU for receiver. It might be Ohio State.
The past 2 years, you need a guy like that is reliable.
This is how you do it, bro. This is how you open packs.
I'll cut this part
Yes,
out.
yes,
Is it?
yes,
You
yes. Oh!
Reliable through and day out. Putting him next to me to get sure I'm getting pick, only 2 pass breakups this past year. He's not a ball hawking safety. That's not where you're getting. Where you're getting is a guy who doesn't make too many mistakes. He makes tackles in the open field. He's assignment sure on the back end, and he has good range to finish plays
Starks
that
solid.
are made there
I
in
still
front
don't
of him.
care.
And if you're the Indianapolis Colts and you have this defense that has just kind of been a sieve the past 2 years,
I don't think anyone would be mad with this pick.
Reliable.
Sit there and you just take the best player available. Yeah, he only had 1 pick,
that
but
would be one of the best safety tandems in the NFL.
Nick Cross is good too.
A lot of Georgia players going in this draft, as is the
Colts
next
really need a
pick with the
corner though.
Falcons
Like
at
they
number
got Juju
15.
Brents,
Look,
but
they were pretty close with the
other
Bucs.
than that,
They
their guys
fell
are kind of
just
just
short when
fill-in
it came to that
guys.
division there.
Jalen Walker reached.
Jalen Walker, he's listed as
God.
an edge. That's where we have him. But you
He's
point
good,
out
but he
teams
ain't
could probably use
top
him
15
in
good.
a
What are you
variety of
talking
ways.
about?
How do the Falcons use him?
Yeah, they need help a lot of places, so I think that'll be the fun thing.
He's
for
like an
Coach
edge
Raheem Morris.
hybrid
And
linebacker.
look,
You got to run like a
drafted Braylon Trice
3-4
year
for
ago
him
to
to be
Washington
good.
in day 2. He got hurt, so he didn't play at all, and they desperately need help at the edge rush position. But Jalen Walker, he could end up going higher than this and go before Jihad Campbell. That wouldn't surprise me in the least.
You know, with the whole Michael Penis situation, I could see the Falcons taking some dumbass guy like this, everyone making fun of them, and then like week 7 or 8, he's like the best defensive guy in the draft.
Kind of like how the Rams did with Jared Verse.
Yeah. The Falcons can draft defensive players. That's not really been an issue.
Going through Ryan's mock draft, you can find both of yours though, CBSSports.com, and you
Falcons
find the Cardinals at 16. And actually, both of you
They're
have them taking
a
the same
solid
player
team.
here.
They're just
so
never
Mike,
a
why
good
does
team to
defensive
be a
lineman
Super Bowl
Shamar Stewart
contender
fit so well with the Cards?
in recent.
Because he's a big boomer bust player. I mean, this guy's ceiling is special.
I'm
You'll
not
see it at
taking
the
a
combine
boomer
next
bust
week. The
player
numbers
at
he's going
pick
to put
16,
up are
bro.
absurd for a guy who's 280
I think
pounds.
this is a reach.
It also makes sense with what they want to do defensively.
They could have
You
took
put
Nick
him
Scott
across from Darius Robinson, their first rounder
Nick
from a year
Scott's
ago,
good.
who was in a similar mold, the 6'5", long, 280+ pound defensive end. You have 2 guys that just can collapse the running game. They can collapse pockets in the passing game. It just makes life a lot easier for your linebackers, for your defensive tackles, when you have 2 bullies off the edge that the Arizona Cardinals can put together here.
You agree with that pick? You agree on this next one as well? Do you look at each other's mock drafts? Like, do you compare? Obviously, you talk about them on the podcast, but
Who you giving my
going
Bengals,
blind?
bro?
Okay, we're doing that for this
We're gonna
one here.
reach.
So let's
They're
go
gonna
to the
make us pick
Bengals
some
coming in
stupid,
at 17. And again, both of you guys agree on this player, tight end Colston Loveland, out of Michigan. Mike called him a difference maker that the Bengals haven't seen
Wow.
yet.
Why are we taking
Ryan,
a
do you
tight
agree with
end
that?
at
What makes him so special?
17, bro?
It's incredibly disrespectful to Mike Gesicki and the
I don't understand. Yeah, like he just said, you guys have Mike Gesicki. Give him a cheap contract and take a defensive guy here. Take the best available defensive lineman.
And
let him learn from Trey Hendrickson.
Another Michigan player. Surprise, surprise. The Bengals have drafted 10 Michigan players the last 3 years. What the fuck are we doing?
And they all worked out.
Put up Brock Bowers type numbers.
They all get hurt.
Is getting him the ball consistently. Depending on what happens with T. Higgins, we'll see
all
with that.
Get hurt, bro.
But he's number 10 on my big board, I think. Top 50 big board right now. And so
couple more years like this, you can have a pissed off Joe Burrow.
But if he lands here,
this dude said he's top 50 on his big board. Why would I pick a guy in your top 50 when we pick 17?
Yeah, I think they're drafting him if he's on the board there when they're picking. I know for a fact 2 years ago when Dalton Kincaid, Michael Mayer were coming out, Dalton Kincaid came off the board 2 picks before them. They really wanted him, but when Michael Mayer was there, they didn't draft him. So if they're looking between Warren and Colson Loveland, I think they prefer the Loveland type at tight end. That's obviously why they signed Mike Gesicki. They want that guy who can be like an extra wide receiver over the middle of the football field. Colson Loveland, at only 20 years old, to be doing what he did, this guy could be a special player if dropped with Joe Burrow.
I was about to say, let's just get some Joe
Burrow. I've been hearing that for years. You put a guy with Joe Burrow, he's going to cook.
His talent there.
Don't matter what tight end we got it, bro. It doesn't
matter. 18th, with the 18th overall
pick.
Jamar taking out offensive tackle, who is only 6'3".
They could do it all themselves.
Mike,
we don't need tight ends.
Is that going to be a problem?
I think it's going to be a guard is what it's going to be. It might be a problem at offensive tackle. Wouldn't surprise me if someone gives them a shot there, but for the Seattle Seahawks specifically, they got their tackles. They have Abraham Lucas on the right side. They have Charles Cross on the left side. They have desperate needs on the interior. And to me, he's a plug-and-play interior guy, probably at right guard.
Ricky's going to be mad about that one.
And it's what they needed. They were so bad. 100%. They gave up so much pressure last year through
that
guard trio that I would use a first-round pick, even if you're considering Armand Membu a guard in this draft class.
Nah, he's a tackle. 100%.
Yeah, no, Mike's right. In Seattle, he makes a ton of sense inside. I don't care that he's 6'3", Amanda, in terms of whether he plays tackle or not.
23 pressures?
24 arms, which is plenty long.
Those
and if
pressures.
Play,
Let's get up there.
Pressures, and that's sort of the whole point, right? Abe Lucas has struggled to stay healthy, but if he's healthy, you just kick.
This guy's going to get fucking destroyed.
Well,
I don't trust any offensive linemen that weren't in the SEC because they didn't play anyone that played defense. This guy went to a no-name school and played against a bunch of defensive guys with no names.
And not to mention, bro is literally going to be going up against Nick Bosa twice a year. And he's going to go up against Jared Verse twice a year. Have fun, buddy.
Picture there, 6'3", and I'm like, that's a big dude. Listed anywhere from 315 to 325. So you're going to get a lot of weight.
I don't care about your weight. Can you play?
Let's go to the Bucs.
I'd rather take a guy that knows how to play with his weight at 285 than a guy that's 320 that doesn't know how to move.
I love Baker Mayfield. It hurts just because they're so close. So Ryan, let's try to get him over the hump. They made it to the wild card round, and then they were bumped out from the Texans. Who do you have the Bucs taking at 19?
Luther Burden, the wide receiver, would make sense here, but I went edge rusher Nick Scorton, transferred from Purdue to Texas A&M, and Mike and I have talked about this. He had flashes last year. It wasn't as consistent as you want, but he's the guy you build in the lab when you want your edge rusher to look like that. And so getting off the bus, he's the guy that sends the message to the opposing team. And I think if he can put it together,
Tampa Bay could go either way right here.
Steal. He might end up going a little bit later than this, but physically all the tools are there. He has one of the best spin moves of any edge rusher in this draft class. He's not afraid to wear it out. I like to see him add a little bit more to his bag. But I think he fits the measurement, height, weight, speed profile that the Buccaneers look for in their edge rushers. And wide receiver, while it makes some sense here, I can see Scorton being the type of player to look at, especially if he can put it all together, play in and play out.
We're going to go to the Broncos at 20 here. It was so much fun watching this Broncos team. I got to cover a game of theirs. It's young. It's talented. Bo Nix does need some help when it comes to offense. We've talked about maybe the Broncos going with a tight end. Ryan has them right now taking defensive lineman Walter Nolan. Mike, do you agree with that? Do you think the Broncos should go in a different direction?
He's solid.
Yeah, I think Luther Burden
just needs to know how to
pick here as well, especially
learn technique
after the catch. But I don't hate going defensive line, especially given who's in your division. You just saw the secret to beating Patrick Mahomes. It's basically just don't let him feel peace in the pocket ever. And while they had a great pass rush last year, you can still get better. You can always get better in that regard. And Walter Nolan has real juice on the interior. You add him to that mix with Zach Allen, with John Franklin Myers, with Jonathan Cooper, with Nick Benito. It's like you can sub guys out and still have an elite pass rush. That's what it takes. to really impact these high-end quarterbacks. And they got, unfortunately, a couple of them in their division right now. So, yeah, Walter Nolan still makes a ton of
Ole
sense.
Miss.
Both of you guys have mentioned Luther
where
Burden
A.J. Brown's
wide
from.
receiver out of Missouri here. Still on the board at 21, although not anymore.
Typical
Ryan, is it
Steelers
selfish for you,
drafting
the Steelers
another
taking him
wide
at
receiver.
21 because
Gonna
we
be
don't
a
know who
head
the
case in
quarterback's
2
gonna
to
be
3
right
years,
now,
and
but
then he's
they
gonna be
get
out the
a
league.
really good weapon on
Like
offense for your
Claypool.
Steelers.
Yeah, as a Steelers fan, this is the only reason Luther Burden's still available. Tampa Bay needed him. Denver needed him. But thought, nah, we'll take a defensive player just so that the no quarterbacks Pittsburgh Steelers can take Luther Burden. Look, whoever the quarterback is, George Pickens needs help, and who knows if George Pickens is even going to be there. Luther Burden was a victim of an injured quarterback in Brady Cook for much of the 2024 season, but his 2023 tape, to quote the great Brian McFadden, is hot tape, and he
One
is
of the guys I like that's coming into the
athletic,
draft.
in the slot or outside.
Who should
game
be a
changer.
top 20 pick.
And our guy Mike is a big
That boy
gamble on the
Jedi
40
Barron
times at the
is
combine.
a
He thinks Burden's gonna
freaking
be
dog,
really good.
bro.
And that's the type of game
Safety
stretcher they
slash
need opposite
corner
George Pickens
from
whoever the
Texas.
quarterback ends up
Oh
being in
my
Pittsburgh.
All right,
God,
so
he's nasty.
is he still going to be here at 21? I mean, both of you've mentioned a handful of teams now that can use him. How high do we think Luther Burden's actually going to go, and not in Ryan's, fantasy world?
I think he goes high as 13.
Top
Is
15,
like
Mike?
Miami.
Yeah.
I think that's possible. He did not produce though this past year, and he's gonna have to answer questions about why exactly that was the case. But when he had just over 600 yards after having over 1,200 as a sophomore, it's like, what happened there? But talent-wise, he's more talented than 20th overall pick.
All right, he's more talented than that pick right there. Let's go to the Chargers at 22. It'll be the second year for Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL.
Mike
Ryan, you're
Green,
going with an
who they
edge
gonna
rusher,
take?
and I want to get this right. Who do you describe as juiced up, twitchy, nonstop motor, freakishly athletic? So, Mike,
that's
let
gonna
me
be
ask
Mike
you this.
Green.
Did he describe James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee?
Oh,
correctly?
damn, I forgot about James
That
Pierce.
he did.
He's
I mean, this
fucking
guy.
dog.
We've already talked about a few
God.
guys that are probably gonna have good weeks next week.
If
He's
you
amongst
need a
them. He may be
defensive
at the
lineman
top.
in this class, these are the D linemen. Like, in this class. If you
of
need a
that heap.
defensive, if you
Got
need a defensive lineman,
Freakishly
these are the defensive
athletic.
linemen
So,
that
Mike,
you're
let me
going to
ask
need
you
in
this.
this
Did he
class.
describe James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee correctly?
That he did. I mean, this guy, we've already talked about a few guys that are probably going to have good weeks next week. He's amongst them. He may be at the top of that heap. I mean, he is 240-ish pounds. Probably going to run the 4.4s.
Only
his top
240 and he's
you see
playing
when
the
he comes out of
edge?
space is
Bro's a
special, but he's
linebacker
built
playing
like a wide receiver.
edge.
He still
Just
needs to put some
outrunning,
mass on his
outmuscling
frame,
people.
So he's a little bit of a
Jesus
project.
Christ.
Maybe not a guy who we want
107
starting
pressures
day
in 2
one
years?
for you,
Bro,
but
come
third
on, bro.
downs,
Oh my
they're going
God.
to need that help with
17 and a half
free agency.
sacks in 2
The
years.
Chargers, kind of what I just said about the Denver
Not
Broncos. They need
bad.
to start loading up on pass rushers as well.
Well, you can never have enough pass rushers. Like, that's that's the end of it. Ryan, Mike, hang on just a second. We have 10 more picks to go here. Recapping 13 through 22. Bengals.
Worst pick in that. Worst pick right there. Colston Loveland for the Bengals. Worst pick.
Yeah.
Worst pick. Second worst pick, Shamar Stewart for the
Oh.
Cardinals.
I don't like Walker for the Falcons.
But you did say earlier, you said you're better off drafting any Georgia player and you're good.
Yeah. The Steelers are kind of reaching, but what else would they do there?
Who Ryan says runs like he's 185 but blocks like he's 260. Colts looking for some consistency with the safety Malachi Starks, and the Broncos get a star defensive lineman with Walter Nolan falling in their laps at number 20. Coming up, only 10 more picks to go. The Chiefs have a lot of work to do this offseason, and who do the Eagles take with the final pick in the first round? We'll finish things up on the other side of this break. Spotlight on this Monday. We have 10 more picks to go in the first round here. We're going to pick things up. Oh, by the way, hi, Ryan. Hi, Mike. I'm Amanda. With the Packers at number 23, they get a DB, according to Ryan Wilson, a player, Ryan, who reminds you of Brian Branch. Why is that, and who do you like?
Because he plays everywhere. He's not the prototypical Brian Branch in terms of the height, weight, speed. He'll probably run a little faster than Brian did. I think Branch ran a 4.58. Shouldn't have mattered. He still should have been a first-round pick. But Jade plays cornerback. He plays slot. He can line up anywhere.
There's that boy,
and he was
Jedi
always
Barron.
around the ball, and he has ball skills.
Freaking
And,
good,
as
bro.
much as I like giving him to Mike's Packers, I wouldn't hate it if he went to the
This is a
Pittsburgh
good
Steelers a
pick.
few picks ahead of that because they need help in the secondary as well. And he feels like oddly playing on that great Texas team on that really good defense. One of the guys we sort of overlooked in the fall, but he's a fantastic game-changing player in the secondary, and his skills translate immediately to the next level.
He feels almost like the Bullard, who they drafted in the second round at safety last year out of Georgia, and that there's no like trait to him that you point to. It's like, oh man, he's elite at XYZ. He just plays with the physicality that if you're really trying to build this secondary in Green Bay that can, compete with some of the likes of the top of the NFC, you need physical corners. And to me, he's a very, very physical.
Our producer's mad at you, so he's bleeping your mic out, Mike. Apparently, we're going to try to get that fixed. So, Ryan, I'm going to start with you. With the Vikings at 24, they get another DB. And we want people to know, as you get to know these players going into the draft,
Benjamin Morrison.
His name is spelled Shavon, Revel Jr., but Ryan, that's not how we pronounce it. So give us his pronunciation and how he helps his Vikings team.
Revel Jr.
I was going to make you pronounce it, Amanda, but we talked to him at the Shrine Bowl. He's from Lewisburg, North Carolina, not far down the road from where I grew up. Shavon is pronounced Suvone, so he seemed surprised that I knew it. So if you see him walking down the street, say, hey, Suvone, what's up? And he'll probably be equally as surprised. But he is long. He is like Sauce Gardner-ish long in terms of the way he plays. Towards ACL early in the fall, so he did get a lot of tape in 2024. But his 2023 tape was very good. Played in ECU. Another guy with great ball skills. He moves. He's a fluid mover in that even though he's incredibly tall, he moves like he's 5'10", 5'11". And the question will be the medicals, right? Does it check out? Typically ACLs, teams know what to expect from ACLs in terms of the recovery. If it's not a redo or there's some complications after the initial surgery, it's all systems go. So it feels like he'll find his way into the first round unless there's some medicals we don't know about. And he is every bit a first-round talent based on the tape he put on the field early in 24 and going back early in his career at ECU in 2023.
And he's already
Seems
got
like
that
he's
purple
solid.
and gold and yellow. He's ready to go.
Completion
There
percentage.
with the Vikings. Let's go to the Texans at 25. You have them taking a defensive lineman in Kenneth Grant. And we were talking about
this
the
is the guy I
Texans
wanted
defense
my
over
team
the
to
break,
pick.
and
Kenneth
our
Grant's a
producer
dog.
goes, oh, they were really good. And you go,
run, stop, and
so
D tackle.
why and how does Kenneth Grant help them?
No, Striker's right. They are really good, but it felt like at times there was some disconnect on both sides of the ball. But they got it together, and when they're healthy, they are a game-changing unit. And I think the fun thing about Kenneth Grant, and I'll give credit to our buddy Pete Prisco, he said, Kenneth Grant is an insanely good defensive lineman at Michigan, but Mason Graham is so good you forget Kenneth Grant's there, which is a weird thing to say because Kenneth Grant weighs in the neighborhood of 330 pounds.
I wouldn't mind texting getting a wide receiver.
Who can move heaven and earth literally, and he is twitchy.
I'm surprised
he moves in a little sense like Mason Graham. He's not quite that twitched up.
The Texans aren't really going to have much this upcoming season because Tank Dell got a broken leg. Diggs tore his ACL. He's 30, coming off of a torn ACL.
Diggs was on a 1 year.
At Houston,
like he was just a 1 year rental
next to someone named Will Anderson Jr. So it only gets
better
at the next
back.
level, and they need some help with the
Nico.
line. And I think Kenneth
Who
Grant
else you gonna throw it to?
Would be an obvious choice for the
Joe
Texans.
Mixon's a free agent
too.
too.
We're going to hear back in just a second. I think everything's working with him. There he is. Ryan, we'll start with you though. We're the Rams at number 26. Welcome back, Mike. You're going with Gray Zabel, and you noted, Ryan, on your mock draft that nobody helped themselves more at the Senior Bowl than he did. How did he make such a difference at that?
I ain't heard much about this guy.
Well, he played tackle at North Dakota State this season. He has some guard in his career at North Dakota State prior to 2024, but he showed up at Mobile, Alabama, and only played guard and center. And Amanda, he looked like he'd been playing there the previous 20 years of his life. It was incredibly smooth, the transition, the one-on-one drills, which are geared towards the defensive lineman having success. He locked in, and he was dominant at times. He was dominant in the team drills, and I think that's going to translate. And when you talk to folks around the league down there in Mobile, they kept coming back to this. This guy's a team leader. He's going to be a team captain on day one. And all those things taken together, and given the position he plays, I think he has a chance to be a first-round pick and probably a day one starter.
Yeah, the Rams.
Not of that pick. Rams are going to take some dumbass guy that everyone thinks is a reach and turn him into an all-pro.
With that, whatever, 8-year stretch was it?
Sean McVay with first-round picks is dangerous.
At the expense of their offensive line. They had to sign so many free agents to build this thing up, and then when you have so many older offensive linemen, chances are they get hurt, and that's what we saw last year.
People forget that they also got Jared versus Buddy, Braden Fisk last year. Braden Fisk is good.
And a guy like Gray Zabel with his
he's solid.
Versatility.
Rams defense is underrated.
4 to 5 positions along the offensive line. that's the perfect guy to draft when you don't necessarily need an offensive line, because one guy goes down, he can fill in for any of them.
We're getting to that portion in the draft where we have these teams that were oh so close to making it to the Super Bowl and fell just short. Ravens at 27 here. Ryan are going with an edge rusher and Mike Green. He's out of Marshall.
I'd cry if they get him
into the first round. Why is that?
Typical Ravens, drafting a great value pick and
work
turning him into a fucking
26
demon.
as well, because I did this mock draft, little secret, right after the Senior Bowl, and the more I watch Mike Green, the more I love him. UVA transfer from Williamsburg, Virginia, went to the same high school, Amanda, as some guy named Lawrence Taylor. And this is all he did for the first 2 days at the Senior Bowl, just dominate one-on-ones. And he said, you know what, I'm going to take Thursday's practice off, and that was well-deserved. In terms of him being available here in the Ravens, should this happen, he fits the athletic profile, the Adafe Oweis and the David Ajabos, but I think he has a chance to be a top 15 team pick, maybe higher. He is so incredibly juiced up, and he plays, you know, it's a cliche. He plays every play like it's his last. This guy does it. He may burn more calories in a football game than anyone else on that field, because every single play he is going 1,000 miles an hour like his hair's on fire. And
He's
more
good.
times than
Mike
not, he ends up in the
Green's
backfield
good.
either disrupting a run play or getting after the quarterback.
We're going to the Lions at 28, and I am so happy that I get to listen to you guys during the commercial break, because I asked Ryan last week, and this is a thing every year with Ryan. He falls in love with a player, and he just loves them, and he can't stay away from them, and he moves them way up in the draft. And Ryan, I heard you say, I am falling in love with Jack Sawyer, edge rusher. That is who the Lions are taking right now, according to Ryan at 28.
No.
Mike, what do you think about Jack Sawyer
from Ohio State?
Reach.
It does fit with the Lions and the way they've drafted.
He's
right? They haven't
okay,
really
but Jack Sawyer,
traits necessarily.
He's
in
like
the Brad
Sam
Holmes era.
Hubbard
They just
for
draft
my
guys who are good at
Bengals. He's the
football. And from that
same
perspective,
exact
Jack Sawyer's very
thing.
good at football. You didn't need to watch
High motor
too many
guy,
snaps to know that this guy knows how to
decent
play
enough to
defensive
start.
end. It's
Can't
just
take a game
how
over.
physically
He's
imposing
good.
is he, and we're gonna find out.
He's
put
good.
some
He really
numbers
is
to it
good.
next week at the combine. But that's the worry,
But
is that the
to take him over,
explosiveness, the juice, the twitch is just not
man.
quite.
They just wanted to take him because
highly, just because it's such a traits-based position, rushing
I'm
the
not
passer.
gonna say it,
But if you draft Jack Sawyer, you know you just drafted a good football
He ain't,
player. So from Detroit Lions perspective, they've done it before.
He's not a certain. He's not a certain.
He looks like Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah. Let's take the guy because he's a hard worker.
He feels like a Detroit Lion, right? I remember over the summer we talked to Chris Spielman, who's in the front office in Detroit, and I said, "Why did you guys? How'd you guys end up with Brian Branch?"
That's what they say.
St. Brown, because they both ran slowish 40s, and he said, "Well, we watched them play football, and their time speed during the games. They wear all these GPS trackers. Those guys are moving, and that's what it feels like with Jack Sawyer." And look, this isn't the comp, but this is what I felt like when I watched him.
Xavier Watson, Benjamin Morrison not going to go first round? I'm ready for the draft, man. I need to see what's going to happen. It's a good thing I have Wednesday and Thursday
see Jack
off.
Sawyer play with. Whether that ends up being his career, that's another matter entirely. But it won't be from lack of effort, and I love the lack of effort.
Watch it till midnight and turn that shit off at pick 13.
Probably a little stronger than we give him credit for, because he can take over in the run game and then manhandle offensive tackles in the pass game. Again, he's not, as Mike notes, juiced up and super twitchy, but he is always around the ball and always making plays, usually in the biggest moments, it feels like.
Some back-to-back guys out of Ohio State here. We go to the Commanders at 29. Offensive tackle Josh Simmons out of Ohio State.
Damn, I forgot about him. He's good. Playing him tackle or guard.
You were talking about him in
and they
your
need
article,
that
and you
because
said
they just
maybe
lost Sam Cosmi.
But here he is, and we find him in the first round.
Yeah, I would have loved him to come back to school. He was a San Diego State transfer. Didn't play a lot at Ohio State. Got hurt in that Oregon game. Looked good up to that point, but they hadn't really played anyone. And maybe he doesn't need to be rushing to the field in Washington. Brandon Coleman, who they drafted last year, was okay at left tackle. They would probably like to upgrade that. They could kick Brandon Coleman inside. But Josh Simmons, if you're patient, athletic, he has a chance to be a really good football player. He's just not quite there yet, in part because he got hurt, but also he hadn't played a ton of football. So this is more of a value down the road pick for Washington, which is a weird thing to say for a team that we didn't know who they were going to be 12 months ago, and they got every single thing right, it feels like, between now and then. And if they get this right, one less thing, I should say, for Jaden Daniels to have to worry about along the offensive line.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch him there in his sophomore season. The Bills, I feel like this is the fan base that was heartbroken the most this season with number 30, and they're taking a wide receiver. Well, I should say Ryan has them taking a wide receiver and Matthew Golden. Mike, you were going with a DB, so what do you think about Ryan's selection here with a pass catcher?
It's definitely one of their biggest needs. I think
Matthew Golden,
they don't have a true outside.
Oh my God, I feel so bad for the Bills because like
catch guy.
They keep getting these guys where they're just
golden
right
his
out of the
superpowers
brink
getting
of being
open.
good. He's
He
like
is a
another
guy that
Keon
runs
Coleman.
routes at a high level, can run the
Yeah.
full route tree, and because of that, someone that I think the Buffalo Bills definitely would covet at the back end of the first.
It's the Chiefs' time at 31. All of you
Damn.
very sad Chiefs fans. It was
Chiefs.
very tough to watch. But we pointed out all season,
take a
look, the
lineman?
things that came up in the Super Bowl were issues all season long, and we thought they could overcome it.
Why
Ryan,
not
there's a
tackle?
lot of needs for this Chiefs teams or area they need to
I
address.
don't think there's
So where do
tackles
they
that are
start in the
good.
draft at 31?
They're in
go
a spot
get it.
here, man, because they need a tackle, and they keep drafting tackles that don't quite work out, and maybe they try to sign one in free agency. We'll see how that works out. See what happens with Trey
Oh,
Smith.
man.
But Tyler Booker out of
Damn,
Alabama,
Tyler Booker's
quietly
good.
had a fantastic season.
He's the
for
best
Crimson
guard in the
Tide.
class.
I think he's a guy you could plug
The
and play in
fuck?
day one. Unfortunately, he doesn't play tackle, which would solve a bigger issue for them. But they're going to need help along the offensive line. The question is where exactly. So I went with Tyler Booker,
Chiefs
the best
still
player,
getting good
still available,
players.
even though he doesn't play tackle. And sort of similar to what we saw after the Tampa Bay Super Bowl loss the Chiefs suffered 4 years ago. They feel like they're back to square one, so anything to make the offensive line better
Who
is
they
a step
gonna
in the
give
right
the
direction,
Eagles?
and I think Tyler Booker goes a long way to help do that.
Finally,
Right,
we get the
DB.
Eagles sitting at number 32. Ryan has them taking a wide receiver, Emeka Ibuka.
Damn.
The Eagles and
hit
you
the-
won the
Damn.
Super Bowl. Mike, who would you
Him,
like to see them take? But also,
Saquon,
what do you think about
Emeka
Ryan's
Ibuka,
pick?
AJ Brown. Just put him
I
back
think
in the
they're gonna
Super
go
Bowl.
business as
Fuck.
usual, truthfully, and go in the trenches just because
my
that's what they
God.
do. They have numerous free agents going along
Eagles
the
might
defensive
be
side of football
winning
and
the Super Bowl
offensively.
next
So I
year.
think that's where their eyes will be, just because you got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown under contract for the next 3 years, and they're not going to change their stripes even though they lost Kellen Moore. They're all of a sudden going to be slinging it
talk
around the
about
yard and
wide
using 3 wide
receivers.
receiver sets. So I
Ohio
think he'll just
State
be lost
makes
there
them
if
all.
he goes there. But he's definitely a first-round talent in Emeka Ibuka. This guy, to me, is very, very similar to Chris Olave coming out from like a skill set perspective, like how they run routes, how proficient they are at them, how savvy they are. He's just bigger. I mean, he is every bit of 6'2", 205 pounds. And because of that, can play through contact better than Olave could. And Olave went top 15. Maybe that was a little rich in retrospect. But I think Emeka Ibuka probably goes higher than this when it's all said and done.
Ryan, how much of a luxury pick is this in general for the Eagles at 32? Because it seems they're pretty solid across the board.
Oh yeah, no, this is a huge luxury pick. Even though they
Eagles'
only have
whole
really two
defense is
receivers,
literally
but to
a
Mike's
juggernaut,
point,
bro.
You don't want to have 15 guys.
Their defense
in the
is
same
all
position under
like
contract
rookies
making
and
big-time
first-year
money. So
contract
I
guys.
get that as well. I could, give them an off-ball linebacker to make Eagles fans upset, but I didn't do that. And maybe they go along the defensive line or maybe offensive line. There are several ways they could go. But to your point, Amanda, they're pretty stocked up everywhere. They have very few issues, especially if they can re-up Zach Bond or maybe Milton Williams and get some of those guys back into the fold.
Ryan, Mike, we appreciate it. Hang on, we're going to do recaps going over what we just saw right after this, but taking a look at picks 23 through 32 there.
Can't lie.
A lot
Worst
of needs
pick.
for some of these teams. They're trying to get over the hump.
That
And by
Jack
the way,
Sawyer
you can
for
find
the
this
fucking
entire mock draft
Lions,
on
bro.
CBSSports.com.
Yeah.
He's not going in the first round.
Welcome back into Spotlight here. Just a couple minutes left in our show. We just went through Ryan Wilson's full first round mock draft. You can find it on CBSSports.com. Going through some takeaways. I'm curious, though, about the number 1 overall pick or just potential trades that we could see. Ryan, I want to start with you. Mike, we'll go to you next. Titans have the number 1 overall pick here is to take a look at the odds to make the selection for the number 1 overall pick. Ryan, what are the chances
The Titans, what are we talking
Titans
about?
still have it come draft time?
Minus 164, according to the graphic. I don't know. That's the real question, right? So here's the thing, and here's the question I would put to Mike, because fit matters. Jaden
That's
Daniels
it,
in
that's the
Washington,
draft.
Nix in Denver.
Oh,
Which
no.
quarterback, let's say Cam Ward's our guy, which team best fits Cam Ward right
no.
away? I'm actually, if the
Yeah,
Cleveland
this,
Browns weren't located in Cleveland and it
uh,
was Kevin Stefanski, I'd feel pretty good about that. But I think I'm leaning towards the Raiders, Mike.
Ooh. I mean, I do think they have the
My
Raiders
biggest
are,
takeaway is the Raiders are fucking stupid. The Bengals, if they don't draft a defensive player, I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do. The Rams are
No.
probably gonna draft some guy who everybody thinks is a reach, and then they're gonna craft him into some crazy ass prospect.
something.
What do you think?
No, It really just depends on how the top 10 picks are gonna go. If they let two guys fall, if they let Will Johnson fall and they let Tyler Warren fall, someone's gonna trade up and grab those two guys. It's just gonna happen. Like there's no way it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because Tyler Warren's the best tight end in the class. He's a top 5 player for me in the class. My top 5 would probably be Travis Hunter, Cam Ward. I still like Shadur. Will Johnson, and probably Kelvin Banks. Oh no, Abdul Carter. Let me stop. Forgot. He's the best one.
Yeah, it'll probably look different with trades.
Probably. But if that's it, I'm gonna get up out of here.
Yep.
And do my